tackling the commercialization problem with new agricultural products. That's what we're talking about in this episode of The Business of Agriculture. Are you looking for productive efficiencies in growing higher yielding, better performing crops? New Fields Ag provides a complete portfolio of biological products focused on you, the farmer. Visit newfieldsag.com for more information to help you farm better. Hey there, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Business of Agriculture. We got a good one for you today. This guy named Randy Barker, he's worked in the ag industry for quite some time, and then about a decade ago, and he's going to tell you about it, he started a company called Intent. What Intent does is take companies' products from R&D to the actual producer, the farmer, and in this era of such a plethora of products that are coming out, you know what this looks like. And I'm talking about crop inputs. I'm talking about biologicals. I'm talking about this space where literally tens of billions of dollars poured into it over the last several years. And then we start talking about, well, where does that, how do they end up prospering? Well, many do not. And that's okay. I think the investors that are behind some of this expect there's a certain amount of failure rate. Frankly, I don't know that they're going to expect as much failure rate as I see coming. But the reality is, getting things from an idea to an actual marketable and profitable product that is involved in production agriculture is a process. And some entities do a better job of this than others, but that's what Mr. Barker is all about. Did I introduce that right?
You did. Yep. That is, you nailed it. It's, we're right in the middle of, invention to farmer.
So the problem, let's just go big picture here, then we'll talk about your company. The problem is there's a bazillion, I know I'm exaggerating. There are a lot. There are many.
Yeah.
Last I saw in the biological space alone, like 2,400 companies were in this space in the year 2023. Here we are in the year 20. We're approaching the end of 2025. We expect some of that to change. We're in our second year of an agricultural downturn. So all of a sudden, it's not as sexy. It's not as shiny of an object out here in agriculture. But there's a whole bunch of products that are out there twisting in the wind, trying to get on acres or trying to get in on the farm, past the farm gate. The problem is, it looks to me like there's a lot of them, and many of them are not doing it with the fundamentals that you help them, that your clients bring.
Yeah, absolutely. So you lay it out really well. If you look at the R&D and innovation, that's always been around, and your farmers always been around. There's just a glut of technology, right, applied at both the farmer end and the R&D end, and you go, well, that's great. Let's get into biologicals. And then you go, why biologicals? Well, there's drive for sustainability, but probably the biggest accelerant to that is decreased regulatory burden. So I'm not a young guy. I've had a benefit of decades, first starting in ag retail and then multinational. I worked with Monsanto for many years. And you go, well, the one thing that was clear about something like a biotech or synthetic or conventional chemistry is, you get 7 to 10 years to work on it. A big run up. And then conversely, you look at biologicals, regulatory burden. I can get a biostim to market in, a year. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Doesn't mean it's going to have an effect on a farm. And in fact, there's actually no practical way you can solve that in a year, right? You can get it registered and you can move it to a farm. But now we're just, we're shooting in the air and hoping it hits something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the big thing, let's just go ahead and talk about real quickly what Intent does. You work mostly almost exclusively with crop inputs, and it doesn't need to be crop protection. It could be any crop input, right?
Yep. It's inputs and practices. Anything
that I use to something I spray on my fields or on my trees or on my crops, that's where your sweet spot is. And you said practices. Tell me about practices.
Yeah, I think a lot of it conflates a bit with things like regen practices or secondary crop, double crop means, alternative crops, intercrops. There's been a big push to explore the biofuel space. So when I say practices, sometimes it obviously involves like a new crop. Covercress is a nice example. Great company, but you got two things going on. You're going, okay, it literally is a new crop, and the practice is new. right? Because people weren't doing that, planting and harvesting things. So when we look at those type of examples, it's really, multifaceted. And like you go, the great example of invent, ta-da, and then you go, well, how the heck's farmers going to implement it? How are they actually going to get that done in something new? And that's very specific. But conversely, in a biological space, it's also hyper complex.
Okay. Yeah. So the complexity you mean in terms of the research, the testing, the regulatory? No,
I think actually the inventing it is actually the cost of that's went way down, right? Compared to a genetics program or biotech or even gene editing. That seed business is really highly diversified. If you think of like the number of products that have been created, but 100 years of working on it allows, varieties, hybrids to have fit, and they've mastered zones and, maturities, and there's still lots of stuff going on, but you're going, okay, if that's what it looks like, biologicals, that happened in 5 years? Boom. Yeah. Hey, and we invented a lot of stuff, but the diligence of, well, is it going to work on that field? Does anyone perfectly know how that works in today's precision ag equipment? Do they involve prescriptions? Is there any variable rate? When should we use them? When should we wouldn't? Because if you said the farmer system 5 years ago, 10 years ago was pretty good, and our yield advantage gain is small, how, we're pulling or adding new parts in for what magnitude of gain. So, when we talk to our farmers, they're going, I'm changing a system that wasn't completely broken. Like rain in a good year helps a lot more than 3 more products. And if they're putting 3 more products in, they're going, well, what am I cutting back on? Do I get the plant faster? Like, there's got to be a win in that farmer ROI. And I think back to maybe your point is like, we invented a whole bunch of stuff that hasn't had the diligence and testing required for long-term farmer adoption. It's been tested and moved to farm, but I think the current environment, farmers are going, I don't know. They can go back to their 2015 practices and take the benefit of genetics and better equipment, and they figured out how to fine tune that system. So we got to reconcile. I'm not against. Obviously, we support a lot of biologicals, but there is a real method of getting pretty precise so that these products don't fit everywhere, and farmers deserve a recipe for success.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I've got sponsors that are in this space, and I did my diligence, looked at what do they do, what does their number look like, then the track record, etc. It's a big new space. And by the way, you shouldn't fault anybody that's out here entrepreneurial. This is, after all, my show is The Business of Agriculture. Well, business happens because ideas. Somebody has an idea and then says, let's go ahead and let's run with this and let's invent this thing and create this service or this product and then get some investors. I mean, that's great. So the thing that you do, I want to dig into that, how it works, and then the value proposition that you have to your customers. Before I do that, speaking of these companies that are out here, I'll talk about my friends at Redox. Redox has been around for 31 years, by the way. Redox has a good track record. Darren Moon started his company 31 years ago. He and I both started our own business 31 years ago. He was in specialty crop, and he thought there's a better way. And then he created these products to allow you to decrease your amount of, say, synthetic fertility and still get the same amount of yield with a less impact and a negative impact on the environment. Company has a product called RDXN, which is backed by more than a decade of research and is gaining a lot of momentum with growers, including corn and soybean producers right here in the Midwest, where I am today. RDXN is patented, proven, plant-active botanical extracts designed to improve your nitrogen efficiency by 50%. While boosting your crop quality and consistency. Redox is a family-owned company based in Idaho. You can learn more about this at redoxgrows.com. That's redoxgrows.com. All right, so me and my partners got this company. We got this idea. I'm out here and I say, this is exactly what we need to grow better crops, whatever it is. but darn, I don't know exactly how to. I got an idea, and I've even got it. I've even made it. It's in a jug.
Yeah.
Now, what do I do? What do I do to make it a viable commercialized product, and how do you help make that happen?
Right. So
Start to finish.
the premise is you've invested in something, you've invented something. So the urgency is to convert that into sales, right? That's why people invent stuff. So when we work with a company, we go, okay, we want to go fast, right? Because you're the owner of the invented jug. We want to get that to a farm, but we also know that, getting to a farm once, selling to 100 farmers and then losing 50 farmers the next year because you don't have effect or you didn't position it right, that is not a business model that's sustainable. So retention and building a company is really important. So how can I go as fast to the farm as possible? It's going to take, what we've done at Intent is said, let's start with the farmer. Start with farmers, testing and evaluate it as early as possible. Let's use their native precision ag equipment and sensors and use their data to characterize and extend the R&D insights so that when we learn about the product, everyone's used something on a field A, or part of it goes, man, it really seemed to work on that part of the field, but not the other, or this field, not that one. I got the response. And when we use precision ag data and our analytics, we can start to parse out. You do 20 trials with your special bug in a jug, and you can go worked in this soil zone. And because each yield point from a yield monitor is an observation, it's not fake unless your calibration's out, but we account for all that. And the point is you go, if you think about the magnitude of products, not all of them are for 90 million acres of corn. They're not all for 90 million acres of beans or whatever your crop of target is. You're going to do much, much, much better back in the original problem of retention and growing a business, being precise. Like, and go to a farmer and you go, you have 10 fields, and we went to many and you go, this product's really, you got 10 fields of corn. It's really suited to 4.
Okay, so the first answer is even a person that's not overtly agricultural that listens to my show is going to say, what would be the difference? Soil type, climatological,
yes,
topographical. What's the difference? And then obviously you can start getting the nitty gritty, like this product works with a different hybrid or something like that. But I'm thinking the first reason is going to be soil type, and then climatological, and then possibly topographical. Am I right?
Yeah. So there's the bioenvironmental, right? So weather and ground, right? And it's variable. The other part that, is really interesting when we start to work with them is what I call grower standard practice. And they go, well, what's standard practice? And they go, nothing. Right. So if you said I did 10, 20 or 100 trials, the farmer, how they farm, right? Which equipment, when they do it, how they plant, how much trash they have, all the stuff is variance that is going to be necessary experience of the commercial product. So you can't remove it. And that's where the science side of the world goes, well, you're not controlling all the variables. I'm like, know what you're not going to control when you sell a commercial product? The variables. The user is going to use it as they will. You just hope you can provide enough guidance that's going to have breadth across systems.
All right, so there, you just answered a really important thing, because the average person, when I talk about commercialization, and when I first heard about you, I thought we were talking about the actual samples, getting it through the door, the marketing, etc. And your stuff is really about proving something new works.
Yeah, I think it.
Or that it doesn't.
Or it does not. I mean,
you have clients that bring you this thing, and you got to go back and you took the money, you did the work, and then say, I got good news and bad news for you. You paid us, and our research is really solid, and we did this. The bad news is your product's a pile of turds.
Yeah. It's happened more than we'd like. We're not in control of product. We don't invent this stuff. So, in the quest to when you say, we're not doing the marketing and the agency or channel work or building programs, but the information is foundational. If you have a product that has effect, our hit rate is we've reported at least as much bad news as good, right? And mining for effect is looking for the clue. You go, we're trying to set the marketing and commercial and sales and retailer team agronomists up for success. But you go, the best way you can have success is know where it doesn't work. So we say, out of these 20 trials that we've done, 4 of them we had a really good response. Can we characterize those and then replicate and understand where those exist so that you can target your resources as a company to the retailers, the markets, the fields, right down to the farm, that actually is more likely to work. Doesn't mean that your product is no use, but if you sell it to the 16 fields it failed on,
yeah,
or those lookalikes, you will be in the sand hole, the spiral that instantly your retention rate, the bad word of mouth, and
right.
And that's my previous global experiences prior to Intent was running global customer experience right at the farm level, and you go, it's the simplest things is I paid for something and I'm not sure it worked.
Yeah. So that's your big thing when you go and have to deliver this bad news and say your product's a pile of turds. It had a win rate of 5% of the time that we test it. Then they say you tell them only go into this. It doesn't work on. It only works on raspberries and only works on raspberries in these conditions. And that's really where you should go. Do they take that advice? Or do then they say, well, we still think it works on soybeans. We're going to go after 90 million acres because our investors want more sales. And the only way we get more sales is to have more acres.
No. Yeah, you're getting right to the heart of the dollar, right? Because follow the money. And that's probably where some of the friction is happening, or right, the collapse is, everyone wants to sell on 90 million acres. If we could just make $1 on 90 million acres, we'd have a business. And you go, absolutely. However, right, I don't know anyone that has 100% market share. Even the mightiest incumbents get to 100. So,
yeah, right. I mean, I always point that out. And
but it's delusional, right? Where you go, well, we test. Right. So there is a practical method as we engage companies. Go, what's your early science? Because if it didn't work in the lab and you don't know the site of action, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can go back post hoc and go, I could have predicted that this is going to be dicey in the field based on the pre work you should have done. Like the evidence is usually there. To your point, is what does it do? How does it affect the plant? Does anyone have an idea? And if people are coming to, it helps the plant. It stimulates plant growth. So does sunlight. I mean, we need more specific crop physiology. So the companies that are doing well, and I think we have many that are customers that I think Tidal Grow's a good one. I think Mosaic Bioscience is doing a great job, and they're working at it, right? They're investing, they're grinding, they're doing the science, and you go, yeah, so they're working to find out the maximal, right? They're trying to maximize the benefit to the farmer user. That we think they're using the farmer tools with precision ag and geospatial and analyzing everything you can get is probably the best thing to do. But it is to arm the marketing and salespeople and agronomists to not have failures, because that's one of the worst things as salespeople. An agronomist that's an agronomist sales, and I'm building a trusting relationship because I used to be one of those at ag retail. Is like the worst thing you can do is recommend a product that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if it's pushed down your throat, now I plan on being back on your farm next year because I'm still at the same retail. I'm going to spend a decade, maybe my whole career there. And you're going, God, what was that? Why'd you place that there?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, okay, I'm getting to the business part of it also. This is the other part. You just talked about you have a background in agricultural retail, which I will be honest, ag retail has weathered better than 5 years ago. If you had asked me 5 years ago, maybe even 10,
Uh-huh.
is there going to be an ag retailer in a decade from now? I'd say nope, because we're going to continue to consolidate down on farmers. We'll still have a bunch of very small farm operators that might use ag retail, but in general, it's going to be direct to consumer. It's going to be direct to the farmer because they're going to be these larger scale operators. I said, face it, everybody wants those acres, wants that business. Anyway, it still is holding up. So I wanted you to give me your experience about the products you are working with to commercialize. Most of them are generally going through that business model, I presume, of ag retail.
Yeah, I think most of them end up going through retail channel, and I think so I don't maybe share a different experience than you. I was at the largest ag retail in Canada running input segment, and I was a younger person at that point in time, and we're talking 2 decades ago, and I said I'm going to go to I like genetics and seed company, and I'm going to go work at Monsanto. That's how I ended up here in St. Louis area and worked globally with them for a decade. And so, I voted with my feet, and I said, I'm on the patient side, and really fortunate that I did. But I'm also really fortunate that I was in the ag retail part, because it's performed better than one would expect, but it's so critical that they continue to adapt very, very quickly if they want to participate in it. And one of these, I don't know, it's a twist. I mean, I don't explain it, but the twist in the plot line is, these private labels, post-generic biologicals might be their saving grace. However, it's pretty much nuclear material. Handled correctly, it can create a lot of energy and profit for an ag retail. Done incorrectly, it may create, a nuclear disaster.
Which thing we're talking about? The product lineup?
Like product, they can bring in biologicals, access a lot of products to bring to their farmers, whether it's new products, chemistries, or otherwise. They're well suited to do that. However, if they do that wrong, it will accelerate their demise. So you get an inflection point. As ag retail as a segment, I go, they could really hit the home run with commercializing products and getting agronomy accurate, or they could completely crush loyalty and relevance in a heartbeat. It's got a nice, you get to go one of 2 ways.
All right. So speaking of this, here's I guess where I want to go with on the commercialization and about looking ahead and the amount of products. Before I do that, I want to talk to you, frankly, about money. People in agriculture usually are not as good about this because it's like they got told you don't talk about sex or money. But anyway, we're in the business of agriculture. That's what this show is about. And we know that business and money walk right down the same aisle together. So let's face it, sometimes you need money and it doesn't fit the bank template. So anyway, go to our friends at Harvest Returns. Harvest Returns can help you. They understand that every agribusiness is different. With a pool of over 18,000 investors and creative financing options, Harvest Returns can bring the capital you need to reach your goals. I've got a hat around here somewhere. It's a Kansas specialty meat company. You know what? It's not like you go and get a mortgage. It's not like a land loan. It's a different deal. It's simple stuff. It's just investing in your agribusiness. They've got a pool of investors that can help you do that. You can find out more at harvestreturns.com. That's harvestreturns.com to learn more about how you can get started in growing your agribusiness today. All right. The plethora of products, the number of products that are out there. Not only am I wrong, I predicted the demise of ag retail. It's still here, although not as many. The Bibbis Co-op is gone down the road. I can drive around and tell you all the old elevators that also sold crop inputs are gone. But here's the deal. The number of products is greater than it's ever been, and growing. It's a crowded marketplace. We're getting away from some of the harsher stuff, which is good. I think maybe now more than ever, we need somebody to help us with the commercialization because it's a pretty crowded marketplace out there, and there's a lot of, what the hell is this new stuff? What the hell is this whole category of stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I think you nailed it. Is, if you think about it as economic pipeline, right? It's the supply chain, and you go, ultimately, there's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to vote whether it's good or bad, but we got to figure it out, right? And we need to be very precise. The farmers have incremental technology systems, and the amount of data they can collect and apply is dramatic. So you go, we got two things. We got farmers highly advanced. You have a lot of products that can have high R&D technical relevance, but how R&D is done, that's that bridge. And I go very much into data, and you go, okay, well, is every product a single product, or could we actually figure out the math of what is it for every field and farm system, right? So you go, yes, you could. That's where we're spending a lot of time on how we collect data, right? And then we use, and now we're applying, and you go, okay, well, based on, you won 50% of your trials, right? You had 10 trials, 5 of them won. Let's characterize the 5 that won, and let's model that out, and let's refine what next steps, and we'll simulate trialing effects over climate to figure out how accurate it is. And then you should build your commercial plan to go pursue that, right? And you go, well, what if I place my retail channels on there? And then you can go into a retail and you go, well, with some reasonable confidence, you have, however many thousand fields in your market area. And yeah, you fit on about 25%. And you're going to be happier placing it on the 25% if you can, than selling to 100% and losing customers. So that's one math. That's mathematical. And then the other one is these, as you go into biological, we know, it's been declared the effect of them is maybe a little more environmentally sensitive, or means doesn't work as reliably as glyphosate used to. Right? I also manage that, and I'm like, well, sometimes it doesn't work either. But things that are on-off, right? If I defoliate my cotton, I am aware if it has worked or not. These new products are about, it's a little bit of fine-tuning, and so I think they're going to need to work in systems, which is an even more complex problem, which keeps driving us towards, automation, clarity. But the punchline is, we're hitting a wall, and I don't know if we can change fast enough that the farmers are going, I don't know, especially given the current economics. They're going, 3 more things. They're not feeling that productivity envelope is their limiting factor for success. I think they're looking at other parts of their P&L and going, well, I'm keeping this equipment, turning that over. Yeah. Maybe change the deal, ask the John Deere.
Yeah. So your point is the business-minded operator, the business-minded agricultural producer is maybe in the year 2025, here we are at the end of 2025, fall 2025, is maybe now looking at this and saying, the difference between me being profitable and not profitable maybe isn't one new product. I'm not one new product away from it. And that's what I think you're saying, because we're in a depressed commodity market. I'm sure there's a greater reluctance to experiment with 5 new products in the mix because of that. So maybe I'll try this one new product, whereas a few years ago, I would have tried 5 new products. Is that
absolutely? Yeah, I think they're still experimenting, but they're fine-tuning. We try to help the companies get it more right. But conversely, the farmer's just doing the practical thing. They're going, well, what do I know? I got good genetics. I can plant fast food. I use fungicide when it's appropriate. I got to protect the yield. But they're probably thinking, hey, I grew 240 bushels of corn this year, and I'm not making money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or
So the point is, you're saying
they're going to go, I'm deducting.
Yeah. I grew 240 bushels corn. I'm still per acre, which is, God knows, 50 over the projected average, 55 over the average. And I'm still not even at break even. So it's not I don't lack a product. There's something else I need.
Yeah. And I think they start to go, well, if it's not the productivity frontier, which is, taboo, we've pushed on it, and I've been part of the movement of driving productivity. And you go, what's it cost to get to 247, right? Versus going, well, how can I fine tune the cost of producing that? And
So let's just
reality.
Randy, let's talk about the money part of it, because, okay, you very openly, my thing. You've been with my Business of Ag group, and I talk about it all the time. Our problem is no longer productive capacity. We have a literal glut globally. Soybeans are $8.90 right now because of a trade spat. I know that's what a lot of people want to believe. It's because the world has so damn many soybeans. Yeah. We are glutted. So it makes you wonder, will innovation stop coming to this place, this business of agriculture? Because, in other words, once you got to where you've got, the toilet hasn't changed a lot in the last 70 years. Going from the outhouse to the toilet, that was a huge innovation. It hasn't changed a lot in the last 50 years because it hasn't had to. Right. Does agriculture go through its toilet phase now for the next 40 years because we already have such productive capacity? We've already got more than we need. These products that you're trialing and commercializing, do they become farther and further between in the next 10 years because of what I just laid out?
Yeah, I think it's going to refine what's required, right? That when I reference the companies that are doing great things and trying to bring their focused refinements, right? Trying to make a system better and more efficient, right? Productive at the farm level. We will have a preponderance of ability because of things like gene editing. We can create more and more and more products. And you go, well, it's constructed. The incumbent market is mass marketed, right? Because that's where we have big retails, terminals.
Big retails and like four big chemical companies.
We make one product, takes us 10 years. We get it on as many millions of acres as possible.
Sure.
That's how we think. Everything from retail to marketing to everything is built for that. And you go, well, what if I give you 4,000 new bio products? And that is not helping, right? Yeah. Until you figure out how each one might actually widen the gross margin of the farmer. It's not a system.
I got it. You're giving me a long answer, but I want to go back to: are we in the phase now where we have less products coming out because I hate to say it, we don't need them?
That's correct. Yeah, I think there is the consolidation phase where you go, well, the best have to rise to the top, and how do we determine that? I think there's continually going to be a shift of how dollars are spent, and there will be the where profitability can be found in the supply chain is gonna. I don't have the magic answer. If I did, I'd go do it, right? But if I think about equipment, automation, technology at the farm level can scale, but they're going, how much more are they willing to invest in if they don't see an obvious return? Right. The last one I saw was high-speed planning or precision planning. Right. That changed the game. You go, wow, that's good. So the step changes there, combined with what we're inventing. If we don't refine for the farmer, go tell me specifically how this one thing makes this field, this farm better. We're in the done. So, that middle slot there where we have set up camp between innovation and farm use is, everything from ag retail to products to innovation. So to your point, I think we have a glut, just like the soybeans, we have a glut of innovation possibility, but if we don't target it, it's not, it's got to solve a tangible problem. Just because you can invent it doesn't mean it needs to be here.
That's very powerful, by the way. Just because you can invent a new product doesn't mean it needs to be here. And frankly, what that boils down to, Randy, is the bigger part. Hate to say it, but we don't need to be as innovative right now, unfortunately, on crop inputs because of our productive capacity already being where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that's on a macro basis, it's like, how do you thread the needle? Certainly here, just in the U.S., you go, do we need more yellow tube corn? Do we need more? And you go, but, I think that's maybe where some innovation, and I don't have the perfect answers, but I think about biofuels and I go, we have a lot of soybeans. Why can't we use those for biofuels? There's a lot of jets flying around, and that looks optimistic.
I know that's not really the subject, and that's not what you intend to do. But I think the bigger thing is, I think a company that comes to, here's my prediction, because you're the one that's in this space, not me, but this is my outside perspective. The company that comes to you tomorrow and says, our product allows us to reduce applied nutrients and reduce environmental impact by some measurable factor. That's the only, not the only, that's where I think things are. It's going to be an environmental play, and then it's got to have an economic component to it. And if it doesn't, I'm not being mean, but if it doesn't, I just think that we're going to struggle to find a place for it because it's not needed right now.
Right. Yeah. So I think the nuance is some of the bio replacement of conventional materials is logical, but the method, that the threshold that we're set up to deal with is absolutely, if it has those thresholds, let's just prove the crap out of it. Let's use analytics and modeling and predictive thing to make sure that when you get to the farmer, that they experience the economic outcome that you think they will. And if they don't believe it, here's a shocker I've had, over my decades now in every country. It's like, when you don't deliver, don't meet expectations, doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. That is the judgment, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's your burden to prove it.
So you think, obviously, if we're moving forward, you think that there's going to be less products looking to be commercialized because many of them came about during the huge run-up in ag that we had. Really, 21, 2, and 3, but also it was really from about 05. It was almost a 20-year thing where generally ag was pretty good. You agree on the economic, obviously, because of where we are. The environmental thing, you didn't tie into that as much, where I guess I sense more outside pressure from away from ag for those.
Yeah, I think there is pressure for environmental improvement. I don't think it's, I just say it's been like it's always a loaded word. It's like sustainable.
Yeah, right.
What the hell are we talking about? I'm of the like, can you define what environmentally friendly is?
Yeah, right.
Relatively speaking, or agronomically, because then we can hit it as a target. But
ask 100 consumers to define sustainable, and you'll get 100.
Right, particularly in ag. Right, talk about a gap that's been lived is the number of airport conversations I had explaining biotech or GMO versus transgenic, right. And you're going, that's the same thing. You're like, how does the consumer feel ag is doing from a sustainability standpoint? You're just going to get 100. Generally it's bad. And you're like, no, it's not. It's vastly improved.
Right. I have to go through it all the time when they tell me that they wish we could farm like we did in the old days, and that somehow industrial agriculture is so evil. And I said, really? Like, would the 30s have been like a really good time? Yeah. And I show them a picture of the Dust Bowl.
Yeah, that was not great. But
what do you think? What excites you? The last question here. What excites you? You're commercializing. New products come across your desk literally every day, because that's your job. Your company's role is to make them.
So it needs to work.
Decide if they're viable. So what excites you about moving forward?
No, I think what does excite me is, number one, the large amount of products is not a bad thing, right? Lots of innovation is not bad. what does excite me is we've been at this for, 8, we're in year 9, I'm like, wow, the things that we thought about, maybe a decade ago that was, well, we can model this and we can use precision ag, and everyone kind of has given up.
Yep.
I'm literally within the last 12 months with our team, I'm like, because of the way geospatial is processed in AI and analytics, you're like, wow, we shouldn't have given up. Like, we never did give up. But I think we can answer that. So it's really exciting that we can get through the Harry Potter sorting hat of products and go, we don't have to just throw them at the farm and see what's successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We really do have a method to get that better. So I think it's exciting, and it actually taps into, the glut of R&D investment and decreased regulatory time on the invention side.
Yep.
That's been good. But then conversely, the farmers have all these tools, sensors, and information, and they're going, can someone maybe we could use that data to apply it to make progress. So I think we're finally at a place where sort of the compute and infrastructure and technology is, like every cycle I've been, there's the hype cycle, everyone sells the vision. And then, 10 years later, when everyone's given up, I'm like, hey, I think it started to happen where we could actually apply this in the way that was originally visioned, but everyone gave up.
Yeah. I still remain fairly optimistic about the future of this industry, but the glut that we are in, meaning the supply and these prices, what excites me is I hope that someone comes to you with a product that says it has that environmental component, it has that economic return component, but I hope to God they say this is going to work on flax. This is going to work on, in other words, I don't think that we need another bushel of corn or soy produced right now. So I'd like to see something where we discover, and then you say, well, great, it works great on flax. Where the hell does the flax go? And you say, oh, well, we've also got to tie in with how we're going to process flax for human. Cause that's where I would be excited.
Yeah.
I don't get excited. I'm sorry to say I don't get excited about ways to get out another half a bushel of soybeans out of the field behind my down the road here in Indiana.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% there, and I think what I do see as promising is gene editing, right? Building systems. I think things in terms of synthetic nitrogen reduction, phosphate reduction. We do, the less we can apply synthetically, we know intuitively is good in the long term. And I believe there is that sweet spot. I'm seeing them that you go, these reductions are also part of a habitual over application due to lack of efficacy of, let's say urea, right? Yep. No one's going to beat me up for bashing urea. Like, we know how it works. Yep. We know what it doesn't do. So replacing that practice, or, how do we get more out of less nitrogen, smarter? We see people doing in-season timing. I love that. That's progress.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Well, and what do we just say? That any product that does that, well, like my sponsor here, Redox with RDX in, if it meets the Entitled Grow's got a product that's in this, and like you mentioned, they did a field day here at my place. You're talking about it does an environmental benefit with an economic benefit. Yeah. So yeah.
And they're nailing, it, I think all I know, Entitled Grow was out with line in, and I'm like, this is novel because it's changing practice, timing, and delivery. And you go, okay, now we're making progress, and I'm excited to see how farmers. The thing is, you give a farmer anything, you have no idea how they're going to use it, but they will make it better. That's what I know for sure. That's
All right. If they want to learn, if the listener or viewer, by the way, if you are a listener, I'd love you to be a viewer. Remember, I started devoting resources to my YouTube channel in January. So go there and hit subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. Just go into YouTube, type in Damian Mason. Also, while you're kicking around the internet, if you like the Business of Agriculture show, please share it with somebody that can benefit from it. I've been at this for over 8 years. That's right. Like 400, we're pushing 420 episodes released every Monday. So, 8 years. Think about that. I'd like you to also check out my show, The Granary. I shoot it with my friends from XtremeAg right here at my on-farm tavern. Real farmers talking about agricultural issues from personal to professional and all kinds of things in between. You can pull up a chair and sit down with us at The Granary by checking out those episodes. You can find those at the XtremeAg channel or on the YouTube channel for XtremeAg. His name is Randy Barker. His company is called Intent. If you want to learn more about this and what they do at Intent with commercializing products, go to
intent.ag. Randy.Barker at intent.ag.
Intent.ag, and you can find Mr. Barker there and continue your conversation if you need to commercialize your products. So thanks for being here, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure and fun chatting about our favorite topics.
Yeah, we're good at it. We do it here all the time, every Monday. Yeah. Anyway, till next time, thanks for being here. My name's Damian Mason, and this is the Business of Agriculture. Hey, sincere thanks for joining us here on another episode of the Business of Agriculture. I want to ask you, if you farm, are you looking for more productive efficiencies to grow higher yielding, better performing crops? Well, of course you are. New Fields Ag provides a complete portfolio of biological products focused on you, the farmer. If you want to learn more about the New Fields Ag product lineup, go to newfieldsag.com for information.